My name is Roopali Chaudhry. I'm the founder and CEO of Lotus STEMM, a nonprofit organization that is geared towards increasing the representation, visibility, and mentorship of South Asian women in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. I hope you have all been enjoying the Girls in ICT Summit. In this talk today, I'm going to be focusing on the role that advocacy has played for having more inclusion of girls in STEM fields. To begin with, I'd like to talk about what is the meaning of advocacy. The dictionary definition of advocacy is the public support for or recommendation of a particular cause or policy. Advocacy has played multiple roles in our lives. You can have advocacy at a familial level where you have caused or asked for change for certain family rules that were set. Or at a community level, you can advocate for changes within your own community and say it is in a building where a certain rule of the building is excluding a certain set of people. And so you advocate and ask for that rule to be changed. This could be something as instead of the gates to the building closing at 9 p.m., let's have them close at 10 p.m. instead because people come back from work later and later nowadays. Advocacy also plays a role in the larger context. So helping change bills or laws in a country that could be excluding people. So advocacy has been around for a long time. People have been advocating for women's rights, for women's ability to vote, but also women's education. And this was something that Dr. James Agri was doing as he was talking about and advocating for women's higher education. Dr. James Agri was a Ghanaian educator as well as a sociologist, and he popularized the statement, if you educate a man, you educate an individual, but if you educate a woman, you educate a family. In the early 1920s, Dr. Agri was touring different parts of Africa, going to different countries in Africa. And this particular statement, he said while he was campaigning for the Akimota College in Ghana to become a co-ed educational facility to have greater inclusivity of women at the college itself. And the fundamental belief in this statement is that education is beneficial to everyone. But it also incorporates that if you educate a woman, you are going to magnify the benefits of that education because she would be able to then pass that education along to her children or be able to help with the seniors in the family. So this concept that intergenerational literacy will increase if you increase women's education. And this is a concept of the inclusive mindset that's been picked up by many countries, as well as organizations such as the UNICEF. Now, this is a poster that the UNICEF uses, where it says, if you educate a girl, you educate a nation. And there's a lot of data to show that there has been a benefit in women and girls getting educated. Women and girls, when they've been educated, not only has literacy rates gone up for the next generation, because they're more likely to then send their children to school, but also be able to help them at home with homework, helping for greater literacy. But there's also data to show that women and girls, when they are educated, they're able to make better health decisions for themselves and their families. Especially when it comes to reproductive health, for example. So educating and this advocacy for education for women has actually been ongoing for many years, and now we can actually say for a century. Oh my gosh. So what Dr. Agri started saying in the early 1920s, now when we look at the data and see, have we really been reaping the benefits of this statement? Well, yes, actually. The latest figures from UNESCO shows that in the Middle Eastern and North African region, women comprise of greater than half of all the STEM students at a university level. Women are getting enrolled more and more in higher STEM education. And interestingly, these numbers are much better than what we see in countries where the UNESCO push has not been present, such as in North America. In North America, while women and girls have been getting educated within the STEM fields, especially in engineering, only about 20% of the student enrollment is women. So there has been, with this push, this actually being a benefit that we see in terms of the graduation rates that women have in STEM fields. In fact, this picture is of two engineers at the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center in Dubai, who have been working towards the recent work that has been coming with space exploration coming out of Dubai. In fact, more than 50% of the engineers and employees at the Space Center are women itself. So this looks really promising. We now have almost at parity in terms of STEM education in the MENA region. We have women that are starting to work in the field as well. But when we actually look at the data, so we look at how many of these women who are graduating are actually entering the workforce, unfortunately, this is still lacking. This is a graph that came from the UNESCO statistics in 2019. And the purple and green bars show the enrollment and graduation rate in various STEM fields. Higher education. So it's not like women are enrolling and then dropping out of university or college. They are graduating almost at par as enrollment rates in most of the countries across the board in Middle East. However, when we look at what percentage of women are entering the workforce, in almost every country that they looked at, minus Cyprus, the rest of the countries have very low representation of women in the workforce in STEM fields. In fact, the Middle Eastern and North African region have some of the lowest rates of women in the STEM workforce. Many women who have gotten the education are either not getting employed or are not seeking for employment or are leaving the field. And this starts to become concerning. This is where the leaky pipeline is. We've done a great job in advocating for the education, but now the question is, why are we not seeing the benefits? Why are we not reaping the benefits of them being in the field? And this was the question that this paper was asking. It's a systematic review that was published in 2021 that looked at various papers published from different countries as to what is the reason that different countries say that women are not in the workforce in the STEM fields. Three major themes came up, and they're all tied in with one another. The first one is family and culture. In the MENA region, so the Middle Eastern and North African region, a lot of women said that they entered STEM education because of push from family, but also because there's a societal status that is associated with getting STEM education. So they chose to go in the STEM fields, or it was chosen for them in some cases to go into the STEM field. And getting the education has just become a norm. But culturally, women do not work outside of the house. this education, having the education has been beneficial for the women's understanding of the world, but culturally, they are not able to apply the knowledge. And so they are less likely to join in the workforce. But because culturally it's not accepted that women should work, that also leads to lack of employment. There is lack of employment opportunities in various countries across the board, not just in the Middle Eastern and North African regions. There are fewer employers who are looking to employ women in their businesses or their companies. Government jobs are starting to open up where they want to have women apply, but because there's no cultural norm of women working, it is leading to fewer and fewer women actually seeking the employment, or sometimes even leaving the employment. So in some cases, there's been women who said that they went into a STEM field, got educated into a STEM field because their parents wanted them to. But as soon as they started to work in the field, they felt that it did not represent them and their needs, and so they chose to leave it and go into a more arts field. So that lack of employment isn't because they didn't have opportunities, but it was actually because it was not of their interest and they chose to change their field. For some people, it was also they were choosing to leave the field because it felt like it was difficult to have a work-life balance, which was the third theme that came up out of this paper. The work-life balance conversation has been ongoing for decades. And as women have started to not only get the higher education, seek the employment, unfortunately, the household familial roles are still quite stereotypical, where the workload for a woman in a house has not necessarily decreased, but now with the added pressure of working in an employment, that has added to so much stress on the women's lives that it's hard for them to manage. And so they're more likely to leave employment so that they can manage the family life. And also because culturally, there's an expectation that women should be able to or spend more time with family. So it all ties back in. We have women getting highly educated, but because culturally it's not accepted that she should work, she should not seek that employment, which leads to lack of employment opportunities because we haven't culturally changed our mindset on it. And those who do find opportunities are having a difficult time with a work-life balance because cultural norms and family idea of what a woman should be doing leads to a greater responsibility on the family side for women, so they tend to leave the workplace. And this ends up being a perpetuating cycle that we're now starting to see. So while Dr. Agri's inclusive mindset of educating a girl and you can educate a nation has been instrumental in getting more girls educated, in getting women educated, especially at the higher level. Unfortunately, what it is now doing is that it has instilled this level of implication that the reason that we need to have girls and women educated is so that it can benefit other people. It has ignored the complexities that a woman's experience is. It has ignored the complexities of the roles that women play in family, in society, in a nation. But more importantly, it ignores that women have their own individual aspirations and the benefit of education can have on themselves as an individual. it almost sounds like the reason we should now focus on education for the girls is because everyone else should benefit from it more than herself. And that is the mindset that we need to start changing. That is what we need to start advocating for. So while women are getting educated in STEM fields, what we need to start doing is now advocating for women to be educated in STEM fields for their own individual benefits. The benefits from STEM education is not just technical skill sets, but there's three major themes that do come out. There is the individual financial independence that a woman can have. There's the benefit of problem solving. And then the benefit of actually changing the STEM environment to make it more inclusive for women as well, so that they can then have greater financial independence. So what do I mean by financial independence? How can STEM fields do this? For getting the education in STEM fields, women have a greater level of self-sufficiency to be able to get jobs if the job opportunities are there. But for them to go into even an entrepreneurship mindset, they have the skill sets and the baseline for that so that they can be self-sufficient, have the confidence in themselves, and with that financial independence, be able to not only go and do things that they like, but they can also feed into that family. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be thinking about benefits of others altogether, but they themselves can feel like they have acquired something and are able to contribute. With the problem solving aspect, well, a problem is, if it's seen from different angles and different experiences come together to solve a problem, a larger problem that we're facing, we can have more creative solutions. This is Dr. Ghada Dushaf, a researcher at New York University in Abu Dhabi. She has a PhD in interdisciplinary engineering, and she put it so beautifully, where she said, innovative and groundbreaking scientific ideas require the talent of both women and men. Achieving gender equality in science will create a balanced and holistic approach to leadership and better educated children in future generations. When we look at a problem and everyone comes in with a problem from only one perspective, we're less likely to be able to solve that problem for the general masses. But if we are coming in where people are with different experiences, with that diversity that we need, are coming in and looking at the same problem from different perspectives, they can now see blind spots that a solution may have. I'll give a very quick example. Windshield wipers were actually discovered by a woman. A woman was on a New York streetcar, and when it was snowing, she saw that the driver would would have to get off the streetcar and manually clean the snow from the windshield and go and sit back in and start driving again. And this was leading to a lot of delays. And she thought, it's got to be a better way. So she got home that night and she drew up plans for an automated windshield wiper, submitted it for a patent. In 1903, she got that patent. But car companies were less likely to pick it up because they didn't believe that this was something that could be worked. And she never really got to reap the benefits of the windshield wiper. But this is something that we use in our daily lives. If you have ever been in a car during a rain or snowstorm, we've used windshield wipers. It's problem solving from different perspectives. And that is where it's important to have both men and women in place. Furthermore, we need to change the STEM environment. Because of the way STEM is currently, where it is this mindset of that's very individualistic. you work on your own, you work alone. But women tend to like to work in communities. They like to work and in cooperation with others. Having more women in STEM can help change that STEM environment so that now we can have a more communal approach to a problem rather than an individualistic mindset of what the problem is. So it all feeds back in. If with STEM education, we can have greater financial independence for women, which can lead to them actually finding more positions to help with problem solving, diversifying that solution that we come up with, the larger global issues as well that someone may be or we are all facing right now. But in this process, help change the STEM environment so it becomes more community oriented. And as it becomes more community oriented, they get more financial independence, allowing for more women to come in, allowing for greater diversity to problem solve, allowing for greater communal STEM environment. And so now, where we are today is we have a lot of push for getting more girls in STEM fields, which is great. But now, let's work together to start advocating for change in the workforce and to open up opportunities and change the cultural norms so that we can have women also contributing to the solutions that we need for the larger problems that are present. So that women can now actually work and apply the knowledge that they have in these STEM fields. I really hope that this talk has been helpful for you to understand that advocacy can have different stages, and we have now moved, not fully moved, but we are moving forward from advocacy for girls' education in STEM to now advocacy of having more women employed and working in the STEM field so that we can start changing the future to make it more inclusive for everyone. Thank you for listening today. If you would like to reach out to Lotus STEM at any point, please feel free to visit our website at www.lotusstem.org. You can find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, by searching for Lotus STEM, or you could contact me personally at roopali.chaudhry@lotusstem.org. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the ICT Summit. Thank you.